Hello, precious people. I'm Jacqueline Parks. Welcome to my channel, Stampin' Turtles. I'm waiting to see if this is going live before I get into the lesson today. But we are going to be learning a lot about, hold on, let me see if it's going live. It's saying, oh yeah, it is. Let's see if you can, oh yeah, you can hear me. I'm a one-woman show here, y'all, so I got to do everything on my own and make sure that I am live. You can see me and hear me. So I just checked and you can see me. And I think it's going good. I think it's going good. So here's the thing is that we're going to be painting a wintry scene. And yesterday I had my very first class at my new art studio. And we had 12 ladies who came, and I had a few of my faithful students who come every month. So they helped out the newbies, and it was wonderful. I enjoyed it, and I think the ladies did too. And but here's the thing: I told them I'm going to go live on Monday. So if you really want to have more of a almost like one-on-one training of this painting, a tutorial of this painting, then join me live at YouTube. So hopefully they saw the link today and they're clicking. If you are, please say something in the chat. I always like to see names pop up, especially names I know. But today we're going to do this wintry scene. Let me see if I can transition. There we go. And I am going to try and use this palette while doing my videos. I think it's kind of I told some of the ladies about this one. It's ceramic. It's really pretty. I really like it. It doesn't have wells to mix a lot of color in, but you can use it as a flat surface there. So I do have my palette that, I normally use if I need to. If I can open it. Sometimes it's kind of hard to open that. There we go. But this is the one that is very portable. I have a lid and then the wells here where I can mix all my paints. So I may keep this open so that I can use it because I think it's important to be able to mix large amounts. Also, the funny thing is last week I didn't have any paper towels, but look what I have. A whole roll. Because, we go through the paper towels like crazy. Another thing, too, was that this water has been sitting here from last week, and it's pretty dark. I do have this that's somewhat clean. I always tell people you should have two on your desk. One that's kind of clean, one that's for the dirty mixing, right? But here's the thing. I already got ink, or not ink, paint all over my finger from something. I don't know how. But anyways, I'm going to rub it off. Another thing that I was telling the ladies about mixing the grays was that you can use a like cobalt blue and a burnt sienna and mix those two together to get this Payne's gray color. But it's not as easy as I thought it would be to do that. So you kind of have to play with the two colors back and forth until you get the right shade. So that might have been a little bit advanced for some of our newbies, but I thought they did fabulous. In fact, at the end of this, I may show you guys a picture from all of the students that came. So this was what was the painting I did. It's a reference that I let everyone use. And I thought that it was pretty simple for as far as drawing. So I didn't pre-draw this yet, so you can watch me draw it, which is not too hard. Let me see if I can do a close-up. And see if you can see that better. All right, so I'm going to create a landscape. There we go. And I like to hold my pencil really light. You don't want to press hard. You don't want to be like creasing your paper or denting your paper with the pencil. So basically, we're doing like a little mountain range We're doing a horizon line. We're doing a tree. Do it off the page. We can do like a little grasses here. Do another little tree here. I think that's kind of what I did. And the pine trees, we're not going to actually draw. We're going to just let those be. But this is our basic sketch, and I just did that in less than a minute. And you probably can't see it because it's so light. I don't want to press on my paper really dark. So a lot of times showing this in, you know, in the in person is kind of harder to do that. But so now we've got this, and I want to show you the different brushes that we use. So we've got this flat one, a large flat, and we got this one that's a round. And the difference is that there's, there's the shapes. Well, this bigger one that's flat is great for wetting the sky. So what I'm going to do is just get clean water, and I'm going to wet the whole sky, avoiding that mountain. So just the sky. And I want to show you too, like you can lift your paper up and you can see where you've missed. So definitely look for that shine from your water. And so my paper is fairly shiny. If not, I add a little bit more. And this is one of those things where you got to practice. You can't just get this, I think, automatically. I think it's a learned thing that over time you'll figure it out. Now I did just dip into my dirty water because I think I'm gonna use some Payne's Gray. Oh no, that's black. I don't know what that is. Brown, blue. You can see I'm just kind of mixing to see what happens. I do have a whole tube of Payne's Gray. So that's something that if you don't have, if you can open it, if I can open it, there we go. So if you don't have the patience to keep creating Payne's Gray by mixing it yourself, or you want to have a more consistent color of it, just squeeze some out of a tube. You can buy it at the store. So now I'm just going to do a little bit of this, and I'm going to go up across the top of the sky. And look at that. Can you see that? Let me zoom in so you can see how it's really doing something. So I like that. I like how it's kind of this dark gray sky. And the cool thing is how it's reacting to the water. It's kind of going down towards that. I might add a little bit of blue. And already I think my paper's drying out, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy how dry it is. But you can add some more water, and see how this water just kind of helps it flow. And that's also something that's hard to just kind of learn the first time. But you just got to keep trying and see what happens. So this one's going to have a little bit of blues, that Payne's Gray, and just kind of this area of mostly white. But as you can see, this is bright white. This is not bright white. So painting white with your watercolors is letting the paper show through. And I'll show you on the snow in the forefront how I do that as well, to show different things, different ways to achieve it. But definitely you don't want to just have like a tube of white paint where you're mixing your colors with it to make them lighter. The way to make a lighter color is to use water, and the more you use water, the more it will thin out, and it'll be more translucent, and you'll be able to have a lighter shade of whatever color you want. So now I'm going to add just a little bit of this yellow, which is kind of hard to do when everything's wet. So, and it's also hard to teach 12 people at once. So hopefully y'all are coming back to watch this video. But see how it's just on that one spot. And then it's not touching all this on the top. So that's where I think we get our colors messed up, is where we're mixing too close to this one and this one. So I just wanted it to look kind of like the sunrise is coming up just a little bit. And so I'm going to leave it like that. And another thing too about all this is letting it dry. Sometimes we are so impatient, we want to just go to the next step or do the next thing. But we got to have patience with this. Unless you have one of these things, which is a heat tool, and it blows hot air. And you can scorch your paper if you put it too close or hold it there too long. So definitely, there's probably a lot to learn about all this, but hopefully, I'm going to let this dry for a second. So, but hopefully this is something that you'll enjoy doing and you'll want to pursue getting better at it. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with the class yesterday, was show people how fun this medium is, and that as you play with it, you'll learn more and more. And because I had taken a class in my 20s that I did not enjoy, it was not fun, or I didn't achieve what I wanted, and so I gave up. And I wish now that I had maybe a different instructor. So, sometimes I'm not the best at explaining things, and maybe there's someone else out there that you might want to follow along with. In fact, I learned from Paul Clark on YouTube, so you may want to go to his channel, follow all of his tutorials, and learn like I did from the very amazing Paul Clark. And he is amazing and funny and just easygoing and makes it just so simple. And that's what I hope to do with this, is just show you guys how simple watercolor really is, and to not make it so stressful, because a lot of times, and I may show you my painting that I did. Hey Jordy, thanks for joining. So good to see you. But yeah, I was gonna say that I might show you the painting I did yesterday during the class. So I basically painted it standing up and upside down. So if that tells you anything, how it's gonna turn out, or how it does look, I'll show you maybe. I don't know. I'm not too thrilled with it. I was gonna doctor it up a little bit, and I could show you that, because like once something's done, it may not be done. You can always go back. So let's go back to the close-up, because I think that's easier to see. So this is the sky, and I think we're getting this like weird little bloom in the sky because this was more wet than this, so it's kind of pushing the paint. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with the trees down here. I want to make like a little bloom right there. So do I want that bloom right there? I don't know. And at this point, I think it is fixable if I don't want it. So I might do that. I might add a little bit of my Payne's Gray and just get rid of that bloom. And see how easy it is. So a lot of times we think, oh, we've made a huge mistake and there's no hope. Well, there's always hope. Especially with Jesus, there's always hope. I could not do this without him. Now, I may need another paper towel, though, because look at this one's already getting saturated, y'all. Saturated. So now it's kind of coming down this way. So it's very much a play. It's a play of water. It's a play of trying to figure out what I like. It's a play of figuring out where everything is. It's almost like the low-hanging clouds. Let's just say that's what these are. Low-hanging clouds. And you may have noticed that I didn't tape this down because, so I've been telling people to tape it down because that's how I learned. And I really think that our paper can buckle a lot when it gets wet. Now this is arch paper. Now, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but let me show you. This is the paper I use. Actually, yesterday's paper at the class, I didn't have this pad of paper with me, so I used a pad of paper that I use for mixed media that's kind of cheaper watercolor paper. But I don't mind if I like tear it up and paint acrylic all over it and stuff. So it was kind of buckling a lot more with the water. And so that's one of the things that as you start to progress in this hobby that you may want to upgrade your paper. So um, there's all kinds of different brands out there. And I have a whole video on the Canson XL versus Strathmore and which one is better for the cheaper brands. And then, of course, if you want to splurge for arch paper, that is what I like to use for commissions and when I'm not just playing around throwing paint on it. But let's see if we are ready for the next stage. So I like this guy better now. I think that that's really looking great right there. And I may just touch it with this, a little dryer. Because I don't want any of this to bleed down into here. And I could have picked out my tree trunks that are going up here or branches. I don't know if I'm going to do that. On this one you can see they're a little bit lighter. Not a ton lighter, but it's okay. So now I want to do this part in the foreground, okay? So again, I'm going to be wetting my paper. And this time I'm using this brush. And I'm going to do it just kind of towards the bottom, not the whole thing. Because that mountain's going to have some pretty white areas. So I don't want to mess with them too much. So now I'm going to do, and I just love watching the water and the paint spread across the water. Isn't that pretty? I don't know if you guys can see it that much, but I just love how that reacts. And it's just gorgeous and fun to watch. I think, anyways. And I do have some little short videos that I do where they've gotten quite a few views. And I guess people like to watch where the water spreads across where the paint spreads across the water on the paper. And I think that is kind of fun to watch. So I might have to make some more of those. Had to get a drink of coffee. Y'all, I have not done my coffee yet. All right, so now I'm going to look and see how much more of this I want to do. I do want to avoid going too much by those trees because they're going to be doing something fun, right? But here's where I want you guys to see, like, so here's the mountain line. So I might just do like that. And then again over here maybe. And sometimes this gets intuitive, but you really can learn how to do a lot of this stuff. I might rinse my brush just ever so slightly. And just kind of spread that up and make that kind of go over the top. And just right there. And now I want to show the magic of blooms. So I'm going to add a little dollop of water. See what happens. So see how that's working. I don't know if you can see how that's working. But I'm going to add some more here and there. I want to zoom in even more. Can I zoom in even more? It's hard to know. No, I'm not going to go through all that. But maybe I can lift it up. Look at those little water droplets. What are they doing? They are pushing paint. So that's kind of cool. I like that. And so that's going to keep reacting and doing stuff. It's going to be very, very fun. I do have some little white patches I left. What if I did too much on this mountain? I can lift. There's nothing ever set in stone, I don't think, for this. You can do so much with it. And if I don't like how something looks, guess what I can do later? Paint over it with a darker tree. You know, no one says that that tree has to be right there. It could be over here, it could be over there. These can be taller. I can change the composition completely. But right now I'm just going to let that do what it's doing because it just kind of looks pretty. And you can see that those started going that way because I lifted it. So it really kind of goes, it's flowing. It's like it's alive. It's doing its thing. And hey, Artigo, welcome. Realistic watercolor tutorial you want me to do. Okay, so I'm more of a loose painter. I do have some animals I've painted that are realistic looking in a way. So they're very, like, especially from a distance, you might think it's a photo. But when you get up close, you see all of the nuances of watercolor and how the paint can make these blooms and these little brush strokes and things. So it's kind of cool. I like painting with watercolor, and I like painting kind of loose. But in the end, you will see this, and maybe from a distance, it might look realistic. So it's kind of like a play of the eyes, and I like how that happens sometimes with watercolor. There is a guy in Japan, I believe, and I follow his channel on Instagram, and he is amazing. I don't know how he does it. It's just wild and crazy what he does. I mean, it's so realistic. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to the smaller brush, okay? Because we're going to do the snowy section down here, okay? And so what I like to do is, so I'm just going to use this like dirty water that I have and see what color it is. Okay, so we're already seeing, if you can see how that is showing. So I've just done the bases where my trees are going to go, right? But I can make more of that. Like I can do some more little moguls or whatever, little shadows in the snow. And when you look at a photo, you can really see what happens in a photo. So now I'm just going to add a little of this cobalt blue because I like cobalt blue. And you can even do like the side of your brush. That's called the dry brush technique. And you just kind of skip it across. And it makes very subtle, very subtle. There we go. I'll do it a little darker so you can see it. But normally I like to be very light. And do it over here. And if you don't like something, you can always blot it out with your paper towel. But that's kind of pretty. I like that. It has a little bit of blue. I like how it looks. It's kind of starting to become a landscape. And again, I'm waiting for this mountain area to dry before I paint my trees, okay? And, but right here, if you notice, there's a little bit of dark where I want my branch to be. So I showed the ladies yesterday in my class how you do that. So you clean and dry your brush. So it's completely dry. And you can kind of lift out if it's not still wet, you can always wet it and blot it. So that'll make that. And you should probably use a clean paper towel. But yeah, so if I want my branch right there to be kind of white against the background, I can lift it afterwards. A lot of people mask with masking fluid, and I just don't like to use masking fluid. It's very hard for me to control and to lift and waiting for it to dry before removing it and all that. So I just don't have time for that. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll paint So I'll show you right now. A lot of times what I like to do is if there's a trunk right here, I'll paint around it. And I can use pretty good control for that. So you can really get good at painting precisely. Of course, that takes a lot of time. So I could do that and make that look like, and I like to blend those out. I don't like too harsh of a line. So that's how I would do if I want to keep that white. And then this pen. This pen I got off Amazon. They're little kitty cats. It's called the Cat Story, or I don't know how to say it in Japanese. But if you type in gel pen cat, maybe it'll show up. I'm not good at putting links. I don't get paid for anything, so I don't get paid for YouTube either. So this is not a monetized channel. If you're watching me, I am amateur. And I'm just doing this to show my students how to do stuff up close instead of having to wait for me to walk around the whole classroom and show them. So this might be easier for y'all. But this is a gel pen. And what I like about my gel pen is that it reacts with the water. So I'm going to show you real quick. So this is kind of my small brush. And I'm going to make little lines for my trunks, okay? Right here. And just show you real quick what I do. Look at how it's spreading, and it's so pretty. And you can do a lot or a little with this. You can get crazy with it, or you can get, but I like it. I like it a lot. And sometimes we're trying to accomplish something, and if it doesn't turn out how we want it to, then we feel like we failed. But I think every time we're touching paint and water and brush to paper, we are learning. So it's never a failed moment, to be honest with you. I enjoy painting, I enjoy creating, and it's just a fun time to be in my studio on a cold wintry day, and you can just have fun with this. So I don't know, just that's how I feel about it anyways. I enjoy how this looks when it's done, and you know, it may not be perfect, but I think it looks good. So I may end up with a little bit of water to blend out this area. And I think you can do this without a gel pen, but I like the gel pen. And that may technically make this a mixed media piece. I don't know. It could make it that. But already I'm liking how that tree is looking. I think it looks great. Over here, there's another tree. So I might paint I think I'm going to paint my pines next. So my pine trees, they can have a little bit of green in them. I can mix a little bit of green. A little bit of green into that Payne's Gray. And now I'm going to just do one kind of straight line. I need a little more paint. It needs to be thicker. There we go. So that's what I did for like this trunk. And then sometimes those pine trees, they have a little bit of a more upward motion on the top, but then towards the sides, they're starting to go out. So we just keep going back and forth. And then they're so dense towards the bottom that you don't hardly see anything. And so that's one tree. Let's do one right next to it, maybe a little taller. So that's the trunk for that, and I'm just gonna do a couple right there, and then, just kind of going back and forth till I get a shape. See that? Those look pretty good, right? Now, I sort of want one more right here, I think. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna put one right here. So that's a trunk right there. And I'm just gonna do this and then wiggle it a little bit back and forth. And no tree is perfect, y'all. They always have a little bit of a Charlie Brown thing going on. But if you want them to be perfect, you can. I'm just saying. So that's looking good right there. Might have to put some over here, I think. So I'm gonna need some more water. I'm running out of water. So I'm gonna put another one maybe right here. And these are all decisions that you make on the fly as you're creating. It needs to be thicker. My paint needs to be thicker. So yeah, sometimes we gotta learn the consistency of our paints. And then I might make a little tiny one. And this is still kind of wet, so it's bleeding. You see how it's bleeding a little bit? Which makes it kind of a fuzzy, which is kind of cool. You can like that. That technique is also kind of fun to do. Do a couple more little ones here. And you can make little baby ones. It doesn't really matter like how many you do. Just have fun.
Just wanted to say bye and then always leave me for school.
Aw, have fun.
You too. That looks really pretty.
Thank you.
Love you, Mommy.
Love you too, baby. I love it when my baby comes in and says hi. Alright. So I'm going to put a little bit more water right here. And I'm going to make it so that those little blooms that we had going before are kind of at the bottom again. Because it's kind of like a misty little area, right? We got some mist going on. So it's gonna do its thing here. And if you don't like something, just kind of lift it out with your brush and be like, I don't like that. You can lift it. But I think that's looking really cute and atmospheric and misty and just kind of neat. So I'll let that kind of do its thing, which it keeps doing its thing until it's completely dry. My little puppy just came in. And he's all curled up on his little bed like his daddy bought him. Yeah. So, definitely, I'm liking how this looks. I may end up doing my little grasses next. So, I could go with a smaller brush, but I have pretty good control with this size. So, I'm going to just do a little bit of this kind of greenish, brownish, bluish color and just right underneath there. And a little bit right there. And like there. Because in this one, you can see there's like this kind of brownish color, like the dried grass. So sometimes we have a little bit of dried grass poking out of the snow, right? So I just add a little bit. And as you practice painting, you'll get a style. Like it'll show in your stuff, in your paintings. Also on the back of these brushes, even though these are a cheap set, they've lasted me since 2020, and I just really like that they have this little chisel on the bottom. So you can like do that and make it kind of go wherever. I also like using the pen, doing this like fun little squiggle. And that's bleeding with the wet right there. It's kind of pretty. I do need to use my heat tool. So I like how that just kind of speeds up the drying time, right? We don't want it to be a forever process. You don't want to sit here and watch paint dry. That's not why you're tuning in. Although sometimes with these tutorials online, you don't realize how much time's going by because they speed it up. So it's kind of good to know in real time what to expect. So now I'm just going in with this wet brush, just a little bit of water on it, clean water, and I'm making those trunks, okay? My trunks are coming up. I don't know if I did them where I want them, but we'll see what happens when I start to draw. So sometimes it reacts a lot, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm just getting that one side. And it's just very, very subtle. But I'm making these tree trunks smaller because they're in the distance. And that's another thing I was thinking about doing is getting you guys some drawing lessons if you want, in person. I had a few friends ask me about that, and I said, yeah, maybe I will. Maybe I'll add a drawing class. Um, so now I'm just adding these little spindlies that just make it look more natural. Um, I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, does that even look right? So then we add a little bit more water up here and see what happens. So, because I just know that it looks a little bit something. It looks a little something. There we go. Like that. That looks cool. But now I'm like, okay, so my trees don't really look like these trees, right? Because what happened was my background is darker. So guess what? The magic of a white gel pen. These are Jelly Roll. And this is a size 8. I buy the 3-pack that has 3 sizes. And it's like $5 at Michael's. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. There you go. So that's our Jelly Roll pen. Super important to have one. Just because you never know. So I'm going to add, and see this is really wet in here. So I'm almost using this like a paint pen. And it's making that tree trunk really white or somewhat white. So you can do the thing where instead of leaving your paper white there, you can go back with a white gel pen. In fact, when I'm doing whiskers on cats, I end up doing, I do them with this white gel pen. Now I'm seeing that my paint is, the paint is still wet on here. So I'm having a little difficulty trying to get that to not bleed into it, but it will bleed into it. And so we gotta heat it up. Let's see what happens now. But oh yeah, see when it's dry, check that out. That is what I wanted. That is what I wanted. And so now look at, I can make some white gel branches that come out from over there that are really pretty. And make a little bit up here. You know what you can do with this white gel pen too is you can make like little snow in like the little crevices sometimes. But I like just doing this. Making those a little bit whiter right in there. So see, There's really so many things you can do with watercolor, and it's not like set in stone. You can create your own techniques, even. Um, no one says that it has to be 100% watercolor. I mean, I guess if you're joining online competition or whatever, you might have parameters you have to set um, or stick to. So who knows? But I like how I just create my own. You know what I'm saying? I make my own art up because I enjoy it, and this is what I like to do. And I hope that that's kind of what I've shown you guys today is how you can do this and have fun. But see, I've left a lot of white of the paper down here, and that's because there is some snow that's just pure white, and there's shadows on the snow. So without these shadows, you would not have those highlights. And I like how the clouds look like they're kind of starting to fall. There's like a mist around these trees. These are standing out pretty good. So let me show you though. I think this one is done. But let me show you because I said I might show you my painting I did in person. So this is what I did yesterday. Basically standing up and going around showing people what they can do, how they can create the trees, how they can create um, the sky with the clouds and the mist and the yellow. And I know it was like fast and upside down, so it was not my best, but there's things about this painting I do like. I really like this section in here. So like the tree trunks in there. I don't know if you can see that. I really like how the gel pen and the wet of the water mix to create these fuzzy lines. I liked that a lot. So if I could, I would just make that my little painting and maybe frame that. And no one says that your artwork has to be, 4 feet big, 4 feet by 6 feet or something. You don't have to draw or paint large paintings in order to be a fabulous artist. You can enjoy painting something small. I think this is like, ooh, is this like a 9 by 6? I'm not 100% sure what size this is. I could probably measure it if I had a ruler. I have my dad's ruler. He used to have this when he was an insurance agent on his desk. He always had like these really cool wooden engraved fancy stuff. So this is older than dirt. So yeah, this is only like 9 inches by 6. I was right, 9 by 6. I don't even know if there's frames for 9 by 6, but sometimes I'll buy a frame that has a mat in it just so I can do that. Frame it quickly instead of going and having it done somewhere else. So now I'm going to go ahead and sign this baby. Well, I sign it with just my little initials. So I just do it with a gel pen, and then I put the year. And it's important, I think, to put the year because I go back and I look at the stuff I did from 2021 to now, and I've really improved. So that's something too you may want to keep track of. You may want to be able to keep track of how you've progressed in your hobby. So, and at some point, you may have so many paintings, and a lot of people are giving you good feedback saying, hey, these are great. Why don't you sell them? You may want to start doing arts and crafts shows because that's how I meet a lot of you. And we end up talking. I show you my work. You want me to do a commission, or you want to learn how to do this. And then you come to one of my classes, and then we end up drinking coffee together every Thursday. And it's really a fun thing to join a community of creatives. And that's what I want to hopefully do by teaching y'all. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe. It does help. I'm not monetized, but it just helps to reach more people maybe. I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there who's like, you know what? I'm older. My kids are grown. Um, I don't have any hobbies to really do. What about this watercolor thing? Because, the way I started was by my sister having me paint a mermaid for her. And I had never done the watercolor before. I did acrylics, not watercolor. So I found Paul Clark. I followed some tutorials and ended up drawing it and painting it with watercolor. And I really enjoyed it. And so I hope like something like this comes across your feed and you're like, you know what? I really enjoy this. I want to learn more. So then we can get together maybe and do something. What I want to do though, before you leave, if you haven't clicked off yet, I like to end with some scripture because I couldn't do this um, without God. He's the one who's kind of geared everything that I've done to this point. So it's like I couldn't have that art studio without him. I couldn't have my talent without him. I couldn't have my friends without him. Everything has been put in place because of him and what he has done for me. So, my favorite scripture, and I know it's probably a lot of people's favorite scripture, is Jeremiah 29:11. And it's really cool to remember though that there's a Jeremiah 10. So Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." But when we look and we see what was right before Jeremiah 29:11, we see, what was right before that? Um, the Israelites were taken into Babylon as slaves. And it says this is what the Lord says: when 70 years are completed for Babylon, I will come to you and fulfill my good promise to bring you back to this place. 70 years, y'all. That was a long time for them Israelites. That was not like, oh, we're going to be rescued tomorrow. No, it was 70 years. And so sometimes our Jeremiah 29:11 takes a while. Takes a while, but he is faithful. If I think about where I'm at today and 20 years ago, if I thought about it, I would be like, "Oh, that's a lot of time to put in, to do that." But you know what? God is in every step of the way helping me. And if I saw the future too far ahead, I might not be willing to take the one step. So it's really good when you're going through a trial, going through a season of just having things going wrong in your life or things that are uncomfortable for you. These are growing seasons. These are seasons where stuff that no one sees is happening in you, and that is creating the person that you need to be for God to use you in the future, and also to promote you to a situation that will shine His glory for all to see. And so I just keep praying for my life to be used by God because I love Him, and I just want the world to know that love because I know He loves me and He loves you. And I just want to share that with you. So, if that's been an encouragement for you, I would love to hear how that has. Leave me a comment. I do read every single one and I respond when I see them. And I just hope that today's been a great day so far for you. Go try and paint something, draw something, just create. And don't forget, read your Bible. Bibles are great. Oh, hey, Linda, you're just now joining me. I love you, girl. But I'm about to say bye-bye. But yeah, let me show you, Linda, because I love to show what we did so you can see. Look at that. Look at that. What do you think? What do you think, girl? This was my one I did, a couple weeks ago. And then this was the one I did yesterday, which turned out, woo, I had to paint it standing up and upside down. So considering that, I think it's not too bad. Plus it's on my cheap paper. Not the best. But this is the one that I I think was fun to paint today with you. So you can definitely rewind and go. Oh, you're gonna call me. Okay, so when I say goodbye, you can give me a call. Okay. But just remember, everyone, I love you. I pray for you, and I hope you have a blessed day. Mwah.